Good afternoon, students. So this is the second class of class English. As I told you in the first class that I told the story, a triumph of surgery in a nutshell. So in that class I told, in the next class I will be reading the text and I will go for detailed explanation as we really usually do in our classroom situation. I believe that you have understood the story in a nutshell. So let us start the story and I will read it and explain. So, A Triumph of Surgery, it's written by James Harriet, as I told, as I have already written in the board, you could see. So, A Triumph, so let us start reading and explanation. A Triumph of Surgery, James Harriet. Before I should start, there is a pre-reading. So let us discuss about this pre-reading. First, read and find out. And I hope that whenever you are watching my video, you should sit with your text. That is, Footprints Without Feet, the supplementary of class 10 English. And that will help you to understand it better. Read and find out. Why is Mrs. Pomfrey worried about Tricky? Tricky is the pet dog. Mrs. Pomfrey is the owner. What does she do to help him? Is she wise in this? Who does I refer to in this story? So these are the questions that we are having in the pre-reading, and we will find the answer whenever we will read and explain the text. But before that, I can tell you that who does I refer to in the story? That is the last question in the pre-reading. I means the narrator, James Harriet. I told that James Harriet was a veterinary surgeon who tried his hand in writing also. So this writing can be treated as a semi-autobiographical writing by James Harriet. So let's start. I means that James Harriet, here a veterinary surgeon. I was really worried about Tricky this time. I had pulled up my car when I saw him in the street with his mistress, and I was shocked at his appearance. So our narrator was driving his car, and all of a sudden he could see that Tricky the dog was walking with his mistress, and just looking Tricky, our narrator was very much shocked at his appearance. Means Tricky becomes very fat. How could our narrator know Tricky become fat? Because as our narrator was a veterinary surgeon, so earlier also our narrator had given treatment to Tricky. So our narrator was very much acquainted with Tricky and Mrs. Pomfrey. So our narrator realized that Tricky became very fat this time. He had become hugely fat, like a bloated sausage with a leg at each corner. Bloated means swollen, and sausage, a food item, a cylindrical food item stuffed with meat. You could also find it that after the end of the story, what notes are also given. You can see it there also. So actually, our narrator compared Tricky with a sausage, the bloated sausage having just 4 legs from 4 corners. His eyes, bloodshot and rheumatic, stared straight ahead, and his tongue lolled from his jaws. So question may come, what was Tricky's condition when our narrator first saw Tricky? Here is the answer. That his eyes, bloodshot and rheumatic. Bloodshot means getting red. Rheumatic means that tear or cough that comes out through the eyes and nose. And stared straight ahead, and he was just looking ahead with his lolled tongue. Lolled means the tongue was hanging from his jaw. Mrs. Pomfrey has things to explain. Very quickly, Mrs. Pomfrey tried to explain. You were so listless, Mr. Harriet. Here, listless means lacking this energy. So immediately, Mrs. Pomfrey, whenever she could see our narrator actually our narrator was also the veterinary surgeon, so Mrs. Pomfrey came to our narrator and told that I can't understand what has happened to Tricky, because Tricky becomes very listless, and as if Tricky is lacking his energy. He seemed to have no energy. I thought he must be suffering from malnutrition, so I have been giving him some little extras between meals to build him up, some malt and cod liver oil and a bowl of Horlicks at night to make him sleep. Nothing much really. This is interesting. I told in the pre-edit that Mrs. Pomfrey is very much worried about Tricky, and buying different kinds of food items, anything for Tricky, it's not a matter for her because she is very rich. So here Mrs. Pomfrey thought that as it seemed that Tricky is lacking his energy, it seems that Tricky might be suffering from malnutrition. What is malnutrition? Malnutrition is when somebody is not getting the nutrition for his development, for his physical development or for his energy. So here Mrs. Pomfrey thought that probably Tricky is suffering from this malnutrition, and for this she had added few extra food items in his food chart. That Mrs. Pomfrey told that he had been giving him extra meals such as malt, cod liver oil. Here malt means grain, dust of grains. Cod liver oil that people get, that people who are suffering from weakness, these foods have been given to people here. Mrs. Pomfrey is giving this to her dog. A bowl of Horlicks. Horlicks is also given to Tricky at night and to make him sleep. Now, actually, Mrs. Pomfrey told this to our doctor. And did you cut down on sweet things? As I told you now, our doctor asked this to Mrs. Pomfrey, that our doctor earlier told or suggested Mrs. Pomfrey to cut down the sweet things from Tricky's menu. But he asked to Pomfrey, "Oh, I did for a bit, but he seemed to be so weak, I had to relent." Relent means here I had to very soft. Now, yes, Mrs. Pomfrey accepted that the doctor had suggested her to cut down the sweet things from the food item, the food chart of Tricky, but here Mrs. Pomfrey told that no, he could not, because as it seemed that Tricky was suffering from malnutrition. That is why he actually had not stopped giving sweet food items to Tricky. He does love cream cakes and chocolates, so I can't bear to refuse him. This is the answer of Mrs. Pomfrey. Mrs. Pomfrey told as if Mrs. Pomfrey is become very much hopeless, helpless, very much helpless. And as he is telling to the doctor that, "Oh, doctor, how could I cut down these sweet things? Because these cream cakes and chocolates are two very favorite food item of Tricky. So I cannot, cut down these from the items of Tricky." I looked down again at the little dog. That was the trouble. Tricky's only fault was greed. He had never been known to refuse food. He would tackle a meal at any hour of the day or night, and I wondered about all the things Mrs. Pomfrey hadn't mentioned. Our narrator told that Tricky's problem was Tricky was very much greedy regarding the food items, and Tricky was ever ready to eat food whenever the time might be. And our narrator also suspected that Mrs. Pomfrey actually mentioned only few food that she had given to Tricky. And our narrator was sure, apart from this, beside these food items, Mrs. Pomfrey had also given more food items to Tricky, but she did not mention these to the doctor. Are you giving him plenty of exercise? The next question doctor asked to Mrs. Pomfrey, that whether Mrs. Pomfrey was giving more exercise to Tricky. Well, he has his little works with me, as you can see, but Hodkin, the gardener, has been down with lumbago, so there has been no ring throwing lately. So when our narrator asked this to Mrs. Pomfrey whether exercises had been given to Tricky, at least And this Pomfrey, Mrs. Pomfrey told no, just Tricky is walking with me, and Mrs. Pomfrey also told that their gardener used to give, her gardener used to give his exercise, means used to play with Tricky, ring throwing. But at present, and gardener's name is Hodgkin, that at present he is down with lumbago. Here lumbago disease, that is having the upper part of your body is getting, you may feel pain at the lower part, of the lower part of your body. This is lumbago. This is what note is also available. See it later. So because of this pain, the gardener is not able to play with Tricky. So at present, Tricky is not getting any sort of exercise, but he is getting lots and lots of food. So you can also understand what might be Tricky's problem. I tried to sound severe. Yeah, severe means very serious. Now I told that he wanted to tell some very serious message to Mrs. Pomfrey. Now I really mean this. If you don't cut his food right down and give him more exercise, he is going to be really ill. Now, very straight cut, our narrator told Mrs. Pomfrey to see, if you do not cut down the food items from his food chart, and if you do not give exercise, then Tricky must be very ill. We know not only Tricky, everybody could fall ill, isn't it? That if you eat food after food every time and just sit at home and not doing any type of exercise, then it would be a very tough situation. It would be very tough for you to be healthy. And that is why our narrator told this to Mrs. Pomfrey. You must harden your heart and keep him on a very strict diet. That our narrator suggested this to Mrs. Pomfrey, that you must be very strict. It doesn't mean that our narrator wanted to tell to Mrs. Pomfrey that I know that you love your dog very much, but for the betterment of your dog, you must be very strict. Mrs. Pomfrey warmed her hands. Oh, I will, Mr. Harriet. I'm sure you are right, but it is so difficult, so very difficult. Now, Mrs. Pomfrey told to her narrator, yes, I know that what you are telling, it's true, but it's so difficult. Means actually Mrs. Pomfrey is so weak to Tricky that she couldn't think that which is the best food item, the favorite food item of Tricky, and she is not going to give it to Tricky. It's getting very tough for her as well. She set off, head down along the road, as if determined to put the new regime into practice immediately. So after listening all this, narrator Mrs. Pomfrey went from there with his head down. She just walked from there, and our narrator realized that as if Mrs. Pomfrey was ready to maintain the new regime. Regime means here the strict norms. Okay, to immediately, according to our doctor's suggestion. But what is the result? Let's see. I watched their progress with growing concern. Tricky was tottering along in his little tweed coat. He had a whole wardrobe of these coats for the cold weather and a raincoat for the wet days. He struggled on, dropping in his harness. I thought it wouldn't be long before I heard from Mrs. Pomfrey. So our narrator was still there, and our narrator watched Tricky and Mrs. Pomfrey walking down the street. Now our narrator could see that Tricky was tottering. Tottering means walking slowly, as if he is not energetic at all. He is not walking very fast, walking very slowly. And Tricky was wearing his tweed coat. And now our narrator knew that Tricky, being a dog also, is so lucky that only one wardrobe is filled with his coats and with his dress. He is having different types of coats to wear in different weather. He is having a raincoat for rainy season, and he is having, later on we will also come to know that he is having different coats for different, season as well. The expect, and also our narrator also understands that very soon there will be a call for Tricky. The expected call came within a few days, and as our narrator thought, it came true. Yes, after a few days, Mrs. Pomfrey called our narrator. Mrs. Pomfrey was distraught. Yeah, distraught means very extremely agitated. Tricky would eat nothing, refused even his favorite dishes, and besides, he had bouts of vomiting. That over phone, Mrs. Pomfrey informed this to our narrator that Tricky is not taking any food and he had vomited as well. Refused, that I told. He spent all his time lying on rug, panting. Didn't want to go for walks. Didn't want to do anything. And actually, Mrs. Pomfrey also told this to our narrator that Tricky is not doing anything. He is not taking even his favorite dishes. He is just lying there, and as if Tricky has lost all his interest there. I had made my plans in advance. The only way was to get Tricky out of the house for a period. I suggested that he be hospitalized for about a fortnight to be kept under observation. So our narrator had really taken a plan. Our narrator understood what was the problem with Tricky. So our narrator had made the plan that for Tricky's betterment, Tricky should be taken out of his hand and he should keep Tricky in his surgery. And our narrator told this suggestion to Mrs. Pomfrey. So in this class, I have discussed up to this. I hope you have understood. But still, if you have any queries, you may ask your question. I am giving you a phone number that you may use this phone number. Just write down this phone number. You may ask your question. The phone number is 740-0016 in this phone number. You may ask any question to me. Whenever the question will come, I will answer you over phone. I will try to answer you over phone. In my next class, I will continue the next part of this text. Till then, goodbye.